Hello, MP Theo Francken. Please tell us, why are you here today?
I was invited by ELNET, who is an international organization invited by Israeli for just visiting the country for 4 days. I'm a Belgian member of parliament, and it's an exchange program where we visit Israel and talk about geopolitics.
So as part of your role as the Special Rapporteur for NATO, you published a report today. Would you be so kind to tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I was elected Rapporteur for the Middle East Committee within NATO Parliamentary Assembly. That's not NATO, that's a parliament of NATO. It's created in 1955. I wrote a report on the Middle East, the Gulf and Iran, position of Iran, of course also about Israel, where I'm really having a plaidoyer for a firm stance towards Iran and the regime of the Ayatollahs, that's sure.
And so obviously here in Israel, Iran has been a very big threat and a very big problem for us. But how do you see it as a European? Is that an issue in Europe as well?
It is a big issue. Iran is destabilizing the whole Middle East with all their proxy wars, financing and delivering weapons to Hamas, to Hezbollah, to all other organizations, but also now delivering weapons to Russia. And Russia is, with those weapons, drones and others that are attacking European citizens in Ukraine. So yeah, it is a big threat. They're also kidnapping, they're plotting terrorist complots, terrorist attacks in Europe, also in Belgium. They're kidnapping Belgian citizens, European citizens. So yeah, Iran is a big, huge security threat also for Belgium and Europe. Yeah, absolutely.
And so what would the solutions that you would offer for European countries to take in order to counter that threat?
I think that first of all, NATO can never accept that Iran has a nuclear weapon. That's a really big, huge red line. It cannot be crossed. And then for Europe, it's clear that IRGC we need to put them on the terror list of European Union. That's urgent because they are a terrorist organization. That's absolutely clear. So that's some points, and then we have to take a very firm stance towards the kidnapping and hostage taking by Iran, and that's we have to do that on a diplomatic way. For example, withdraw all Iranian Belgian ambassadors and European ambassadors from Iran and call them back to Europe for consultation, like we did in the past. So yeah, we can do a lot of things. We are not doing them because our position is way too weak. JCPOA also, that is nonsensical, has no future. So we have to really take action now.
As part of NATO, obviously the United States are a member state, and the United States have been reported to maybe try to get the JCPOA running again or start negotiations again. What is your stance on that?
JCPOA is dead, and I think that there will not be any life in JCPOA towards the American elections, towards European elections in May next year, because of the position of Iran towards Russia, delivering weapons, attacking citizens, innocent citizens, children, women in Ukraine. That was a game changer, so it is impossible for us. And then the kidnappings, hostage takings, terrorist attacks, proxy wars. So for us, Iran is a big security threat, and in my report, I really take a firm stance towards that, and I hope that NATO Parliamentary Assembly will adopt this report. Yeah.
And once they adopt this report, if they do it, what will be the next steps then for NATO?
Yeah, we have a big debate, parliamentarian debate with all NATO member states about the position towards Iran and the Middle East, and then we will have a discussion with Mr. Stoltenberg about it. That's how we're going to do it.
Let's hope he listens. At least now, we are here in Israel, and as I said, we see Iran as a daily threat. What do you think our role should be here in that stance? Because we're not a member state of NATO, but you obviously agree that the IRGC has to be proscribed as a terrorist organization, and Iran's regime is a global threat. How do you see Israel's playing role?
Well, I'm very grateful that Iran has Israel towards them, because Israel is a very strong state, has a strong military, has a very excellent intelligence service. So that means that Israel is standing strong towards Iran and the regime, the Ayatollah regime. So that's very important. And I just have one question for Israel is keep on going, keep on being tough and strong and firm against towards the regime of the Ayatollahs, because they had a revolution after the death of Masha Amini, and maybe there will get a regime change. I hope there will come a regime change that will be very, very good for the future of the Middle East and for peace and prosperity in all this region.
Speaking of Iran, I remember you met some special guests yesterday at the Yad Vashem ceremony, also from Iran. How was that encounter?
Yeah, Reza Pahlavi was here. I invited him in Belgian Parliament some weeks ago, so it was nice to see him back here. I think it's a very, very important thing that he was invited here, that he was also at the Western Wall today, because he gives a real signal that if there is regime change, that will be a democratic, peaceful and prosperous Iran who is pro-Israel and has nothing against Judaism and against the state of Israel. And that is a huge game changer because, you know why. You know it better than I do.
So at ELNET, we promote the stronger relations between Israel and European countries, the EU as well. We have offices all across Europe, also in Brussels with the EU and NATO. Our stronger relations are based on democratic values and shared interests and challenges, and obviously Iran is a shared challenge. What do you think our role should be in that aspect? How can we help?
I think it's the most important role for me, for ELNET, is to give a lot of European politicians a better insight in what really plays here in this country. I'm coming from Belgium. The Belgian parliament in majority is anti-Israel, is pro-Palestine, and 90% of the times they really don't know where they're talking about. So doing these 4-day trips and really geopolitical meetings, I think it's super important. It's of huge importance. So just keep on going and doing this, because there's a lot of parliamentarians in Europe. So you have a lot of work to do.
A lot of footwork to do.
Yeah.
Is there anything else specifically about the report that you want to mention that you think is very important to have that?
Yeah, I think that a thing that is also worrying is the fact that Saudi Arabia is now shifting towards Iran. That's the first time towards the regime. And that's something worrying. Also the role of China. Where is the Biden administration? So that's something we have to look really close at and try to make some conclusions out of that. I think that's for the West, we can never underestimate how important the Middle East is for our security, prosperity, and the future of the West as well, and European Union and Europe. So that's something I wanted to mention as well. Yeah.
Some analysts say that the Saudi Arabia getting closer to Iran might actually be a good thing for the West, because then they could use Saudi Arabia to leverage a future negotiation with Iran. Do you think that's correct?
I don't believe in negotiations with this regime. Really, it will not work out. You need another regime. I think that's the only solution. They're trying to become a nuclear power, and then Saudi Arabia will also want to have nuclear power, and then the dice keeps on rolling, and that's super dangerous for the world peace. Yeah.
Last question, and to end on an optimistic note. The Abraham Accord is something we discuss all over this trip as well. What do you think Europe's role should be? You're a Middle Eastern expert sitting in Europe. Do you think Europe can play a bigger role in signing future agreements between Israel and Arab states?
That would be great, but that's not the mental status where Europe is at this moment. European Commission is not there, European Council either. So, but that would be great, absolutely. And I think even when the West really emphasize the importance of those agreements and the fact that we have to widen them even, that would be a very good push towards more countries that sign an agreement with Israel, Arab countries. But now with China crossing by and Saudi Arabia and Iran, it's really difficult. I think that I hoped that Saudi Arabia would also sign an agreement with Israel, but now they're more leaning towards Iran, and that's not a good thing, I think.